In a distant land where the sun scorched the earth and the sands whispered forgotten tales, a boy named Mateo sat quietly beneath a lone acacia tree, clutching a half-empty canteen. His legs, weak and twisted from birth, had never carried him far. But that day, they had carried him to a place no child should ever be left alone. His father, Santiago, had driven for hours through the endless desert, the silence between them heavy with guilt. He told Mateo it was a journey, a small adventure. The boy believed him, speaking softly about the shapes in the clouds and the lizards scurrying across the sand. But Santiago had a different plan. He stopped the old truck where the world seemed to end. With trembling hands and tear-filled eyes, he unbuckled Mateo and led him to the shade of the tree. "Wait here," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'll come back. I promise." He handed his son the canteen and walked away. Each step felt heavier than the last, but he didn't look back. He couldn't. Mateo called out, "Papa, no Levias," but his father was already gone. The boy waited. He waited as the sun climbed higher, as the wind whispered lies of comfort, as the hope in his heart flickered and faded. He waited until the sky turned red and the stars blinked to life. And then, in the distance, a shadow moved. A lion, golden and powerful. It crested a dune, drawn by the soft cries of the child. Mateo, too weak to run, closed his eyes and braced for the end. But instead of claws and teeth, he felt a warm breath and a gentle nudge. The lion sniffed him, then curled beside him, offering shelter from the cold night wind. For hours, the boy and the beast lay together, two souls abandoned by the world, finding solace in each other's presence. As the night wore on, the lion roared into the darkness, not in anger, but in call, a cry that would echo across the dunes and bring strangers to Mateo's side. At dawn, a group of Bedouin shepherds arrived. They saw the boy, the lion, and the miracle unfolding before them. One of them, Jose, stepped forward with open hands and calm words. "Peace, king of the desert. We mean no harm." The lion stepped back, allowing them to take Mateo. The boy, weak and trembling, whispered, "He kept me warm. He didn't leave me." The story spread like wildfire. A lion guarding a lost child. A boy who should not have survived, but did. When Mateo returned to the village, his father was waiting, not with pride, but with tears and regret. He fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness. "I thought you'd be better without me," he wept. Mateo reached out, his small fingers trembling but firm. "Don't leave me again, Papa. I'm not afraid if you're with me." The village, moved by the tale, embraced them both. Word reached faraway cities. Reporters came. Children wrote letters. Animal rights groups used the story to spread awareness. But the real change came in the boy and his father. Santiago found work with the shepherds. Mateo, given a wheelchair by a local charity, began school. His laughter filled the village. And the lion? He became a symbol, not of danger, but of grace. Some said they saw his golden form at the edge of the dunes, watching over the village. Some left offerings of water and meat in quiet thanks. But peace was not permanent. One day, hunters came. They had heard of the lion, the one who had saved a boy. They wanted to capture him, to photograph him, to claim him. Jose and the villagers stood together. The lion saved Mateo. Jose said, "We owe him protection." They formed a watch group. They guided hunters away. Children made signs. Respect the desert. Leave the lion in peace. Miracles are not for sale. Tension rose. One afternoon, two hunters ignored the warnings. They wandered toward the old acacia tree. Mateo saw them from his window. He grabbed his dog, Rex, and rushed to find Jose and some friends. Hidden behind the dunes, they watched as the men scanned the horizon with binoculars and rifles. Then a low, unmistakable roar. The lion appeared on a nearby dune, majestic, calm, unafraid. The men froze. Mateo's heart pounded, a mix of fear and gratitude. The lion looked at Mateo, then turned and disappeared into the desert. That night, the village gathered under the acacia. Mateo spoke. "The lion is not a trophy. He is a friend, a symbol that mercy exists in nature, just as it does in us." The villagers voted. No more guides or hunters. No more tourism that sought spectacle at the lion's expense. Instead, they welcomed those who wanted to learn about the desert, its people, and the lessons of humility and kindness. The balance shifted. The village changed, but danger returned. Rumors spread that hunters had set traps near the lion's territory. Mateo couldn't sleep. At dawn, Santiago gathered a small group. They searched the desert, following Rex's nose. Trap after trap, they dismantled them. Then, a sudden bark. Rex took off. At the top of a small dune, they stopped. There, barely 20 steps away, the lion lay, his paw caught in a cruel steel trap. Blood stained the sand. Mateo's voice was soft but firm. "We have to help him. Please. He saved me. We can't leave him now." With care, they freed the lion. The doctor cleaned the wound. And as the lion rose, he gently rubbed his head against Mateo's shoulder. A gesture of gratitude. A moment that left the boy speechless. But the hunters were still near. When they approached, the villagers stood as one. "No," they said. "The lion is under our protection. Leave, and don't come back." The hunters, outnumbered and exposed, finally retreated. The lion had saved Mateo. Now Mateo had saved the lion. And the village? They had found something greater than survival. They had found unity. Time passed. The lion remained a quiet guardian. Mateo grew stronger. His voice grew louder. He spoke at school, at festivals, at the village gatherings. He reminded everyone of the night he was alone, and the wild creature who chose to stay. Years later, a terrible drought came. The sun burned hotter. The wells dried. The people suffered. Mateo organized teams of children to carry water. He shared what little food there was. He reminded the village of the lion's lesson, that even in the harshest world, kindness could still bloom. And then one night, Bruno, the dog who had always been by Mateo's side, disappeared. He returned at dawn. With the lion, the great beast was weak, thirsty, but he came. Mateo spoke to the villagers. "He came to us when I was lost. Now that we all need him, he returns. We can share what we have. Even now." Inspired, the villagers brought water and food. They offered it to the lion, and the lion, in turn, stayed. The drought continued, but something had changed. Hope had returned. Then came the refugees. A caravan of the desperate arrived at the edge of the village. They had fled a land even more parched than theirs. The council was divided. Some feared sharing would doom their own children. Others remember Mateo's story. Mateo stood before them. "When I was alone in the desert," he said, "I survived because a lion chose to protect me. Later, our village chose to protect the lion, even when it cost us. If we forget that now, we lose not just a harvest, but our heart." The vote was close, but the village chose compassion. They welcomed the strangers. And the lion? He watched from the dunes, a silent blessing. Rain finally came. Torrential, life-giving rain. The people danced in the streets. The land drank deeply. And the lion, ever the guardian, was seen once more, watching from a distant dune. The village grew. The people thrived. But the world beyond was watching. One day, a foundation arrived. They offered money, fame, a sanctuary. But with it came fences, cameras, tourists. The lion was no longer free. Mateo stood before the council. "We were saved by compassion, not profit," he said. "The lion is not ours to display. If we give up our kindness and freedom, what do we have left?" The decision was made. The sanctuary was abandoned. The lion was free. And the village? They chose truth over wealth. They chose the wild over spectacle. And they chose each other. The festival came again. The people gathered. Mateo stood before them. "My story began with fear," he said, "but it became a story of trust. I survived because a wild creature chose to protect me, and because a village chose not to give up on kindness." He looked at the sea of faces. All of us, born here, arrived later, or newly here. Together we are strong. Together we are free. A thunder rumbled in the distance. And then, from the edge of the gathering, the lion appeared. He paused, looked at the crowd. then vanished into the desert, a silent blessing. That night, the village celebrated. They danced, they sang, they remembered, and they knew they had built something rare, a place where no child, no animal, no stranger was ever left behind. But the story didn't end there, because the world is full of deserts, real and imagined, and every desert holds a child in need of a lion who chooses to stay, a village that chooses to welcome, and a story that chooses to teach. Moral lesson: even in the harshest places, kindness can bloom. One act of compassion can change a life and inspire a world. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to join us next time, when we'll share another tale of courage, hope, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Thank you for being part of this journey. Together, let's keep spreading courage and compassion, one story at a time.